If you can't control the first hour of your day, what makes you think you can control your life? That sounds harsh, doesn't it? But look around. Look at how most people live, hitting snooze, stumbling through the morning half awake, reacting instead of leading. And then they wonder why their lives feel like they're on fire, why they're always behind, why nothing ever truly changes. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. Your morning is a mirror. It reflects the level of discipline you carry. It exposes how much respect you have for yourself, and it reveals whether you're serious about who you say you want to become, or if it's just talk. We live in a culture obsessed with performance, results, and success, yet we ignore the most foundational leverage point available to us: the morning. Not the 11 a.m. caffeine scramble, not the frantic rush to meet someone else's deadline, but the silent hours before the world starts demanding things from you. That's where you win or lose. And make no mistake, the person who rises with intention while the rest of the world sleeps is already operating from a position of power. Not because they're better, but because they've taken control of time itself. They've claimed the one part of the day no one can steal from them. Waking up early isn't about being a morning person. It's not about productivity gimmicks or trendy routines. It's about domination. Domination over your impulses. Domination over your environment. Domination over the resistance that tells you to stay small, stay comfortable, stay asleep in every sense of the word. So if you're tired of drifting, if you're sick of watching other people rise while you stay stuck, if you're ready to stop surviving your days and start owning them, then it begins here, before the sun, before the noise, before the world decides who you get to be today. Wake up early and dominate your day. Light SDIVEN1. Waking up early signals self-respect and discipline. Waking up early is not simply a lifestyle choice or a productivity trick. It's a reflection of your inner world. When you set an alarm and rise with it, you're declaring to yourself, I am someone who does what needs to be done. That's self-respect. Because if you can't keep a promise to yourself about the first thing of the day, why would you expect to keep bigger ones later on? Now, self-respect isn't handed out freely. It's earned. You don't get it from reading motivational quotes or daydreaming about future success. It's carved out through action, through the hard, dull moments when you get up, when you don't feel like it, when the bed is warm and the world is still quiet. That's where discipline is born. And discipline isn't about being rigid or robotic. It's about aligning your behavior with your values. Every morning you choose to rise early, you're making a quiet statement: I am not a slave to comfort. I can endure momentary discomfort in service of something greater. My growth, my potential, my mission. That is the essence of self-respect, because no one respects the person who can't even drag themselves out of bed. Not even that person themselves. And that lack of internal integrity, of saying one thing and doing another, it eats away at your confidence over time. Waking up early is a spiritual act in a very practical way. It's how you build trust with yourself. That trust compounds, and soon you're no longer dragging yourself out of bed because you have to. You're getting up because that's who you are now. A person with integrity, a person with direction. 2, the early morning is your psychological battlefield. Win it, win the day. The first hour of your day is the psychological battlefield. It's the proving ground where you either take charge or you surrender. And make no mistake, there is no neutral ground here. You either win or you don't. You either step into control or you allow the inertia of comfort to dictate the rest of your day. See, the morning is a vulnerable time. You're transitioning from the unconscious dream world into the chaos of reality. In that liminal space, your mind is impressionable. That's why the habits you practice in that first hour become disproportionately powerful. They set your mental posture. And if the first thing you do is grab your phone, scroll through dopamine, junk notifications, or roll over and grumble about the day ahead, what are you rehearsing? Powerlessness, distraction, anxiety. Contrast that with the person who wakes up early before the noise. They rise not in reaction, but with intention. They train their mind to be alert, present, engaged. Maybe they journal or meditate or go for a run. It doesn't matter the ritual. It matters that they're on offense, not defense. They are sharpening the weapon that is their attention before the world tries to dull it. When you win the morning, you prime your nervous system for resilience. You reduce stress because you've already brought some order to the chaos. You walk into the rest of your day with your shoulders back, your mind clear, and your actions already aligned. You've proven within minutes of waking up that you are capable of facing difficulty and choosing strength. That momentum carries forward. And when you lose that battle, when you let it slip, the day feels heavier. You're chasing something invisible all day long, trying to catch up to a version of yourself you were too lazy to become that morning. It's a subtle defeat, but it adds up. Win the morning. Dominate the day. 3. Stillness of morning hours allows for deep, undistracted thought. There's something sacred about the early morning hours, something almost holy in the silence. Before the emails, before the traffic, before the demands of the day come crashing in, there is a stillness that doesn't exist at any other time. And in that stillness, you can think clearly, deeply, honestly. We live in an era where distraction is the default. Notifications buzz constantly. People expect instant replies. Your attention is under siege from the moment you wake up, unless you wake up earlier than the noise. When you do, you reclaim your mental space. You create a zone where thought can breathe. In those early hours, your mind hasn't yet been polluted by the outer world. You're not yet burdened by meetings, messages, or other people's energy. It's just you, your thoughts, and the work you choose to do. This is when insights happen. This is when planning your life, reflecting on your actions, or tackling hard, creative work becomes not only possible, but optimal. Great thinkers, writers, builders, they've long known this. The early morning is when the mind is freshest. It's where clarity lives. The distractions of the day haven't hijacked your attention yet. You're not dealing with decision fatigue. Your brain is primed to focus if you give it that chance. But here's the catch. If you don't intentionally create this space, it gets swallowed. The chaos will find you. You can't wait for peace to show up in the middle of a noisy world. You have to carve it out. Wake up early, not to do more, but to do better, to think better, to reflect more deeply, to ask yourself what matters before the day tells you what to care about. That kind of thinking changes people. It doesn't happen in traffic. It doesn't happen on Instagram. It happens in silence, in solitude. And that silence waits for you at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. if you have the courage to meet it. 4. Morning routines are rituals that shape identity and purpose. A morning routine is more than a checklist. It's a sacred ritual. It's a repeated act that silently tells the world, and more importantly, yourself, what kind of person you are becoming every time you perform your morning routine. You're not just preparing for the day, you're shaping your identity. You're telling yourself, this is who I am. This is what I do. The modern world has forgotten the power of ritual. We move fast. We chase novelty. We think meaning is found in spontaneity. But meaning is more often found in repetition, in structure, in the quiet discipline of doing the same few important things every single morning, whether we feel like it or not. You wake up early, and instead of chaos, you begin with structure. You hydrate, move your body, center your thoughts, review your goals. These aren't trivial actions, they are acts of order in a world that leans toward disorder. And the more you do them, the deeper they're wired into your nervous system. You stop doing them just because you should. You start doing them because it's who you are. And that's the real goal, identity-based change. Not I go to the gym, but I'm someone who trains. Not I try to wake up early, but I'm the kind of person who rises before the sun. These subtle shifts in how you see yourself create a feedback loop. When your identity is rooted in discipline, purpose, and responsibility, your behavior naturally follows. Morning rituals are how you begin to live with intention. They keep your feet on the ground when life feels chaotic. They remind you of your values, your goals, your mission. And when the rest of the world is still asleep, figuratively and literally, you are awake, aware, and aligned. That's not a routine. That's transformation. 5, early rising builds confidence through consistent, small victories. Confidence is built, not born. And it's built through repeated small wins that reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to start stacking those wins is by waking up early. Not once, not for a week, but consistently, day in and day out. There's something primal about getting up early. It feels like a victory over your weaker self, over the version of you that craves comfort, that wants to hide under the covers, that tells you 5 more minutes. When you override that voice even once, you send a signal to your subconscious, I am in control. And that signal matters. Most people walk around unsure of themselves, not because they aren't capable, but because they've let themselves down too many times. They said they'd get up early, but they didn't. They said they'd go for the run, but they skipped it. Every broken promise chips away at self-respect, and without self-respect, confidence can't grow. Now flip that. You start waking up early. You start keeping your word. You start showing up for yourself before the world asks anything of you. What happens? Momentum. You start trusting yourself again. You don't need hype. You don't need validation. You have something better, the quiet pride of a person who does what they say they'll do. And here's the hidden truth. Real confidence doesn't come from achievement alone. It comes from consistency. 1,000 small wins matter more than one big one. Waking up early is a small win that sets up the next one and the next. You start stringing victories together. You become reliable in your own eyes. That's real power. That's real self-esteem. 6, you gain an edge over the world while it's still sleeping. There's a competitive advantage hidden in the early hours of the day. while the majority are still curled under their blankets. You're moving, you're thinking, you're building. That's the edge. It's not magic, it's math. You are doing while they are dreaming. In a world obsessed with shortcuts and quick wins, waking up early is a long game strategy. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it compounds. Every hour you gain while others are asleep is an hour invested in your future. That extra time isn't just about productivity, it's about preparation. And preparation is how you separate yourself from the average. Imagine starting your day already centered, focused, and ahead, while others are still snoozing their alarm clocks. You've already trained. You've already planned. You've already done deep work before they've poured their first coffee. That gap, it widens. And soon, they're wondering how you got so far ahead. The truth is, you just started earlier. Consistently, you want to be excellent. You want to lead, to build, to rise above mediocrity. Then do what most people aren't willing to do. Start when they're still sleeping. Hustle in the hours no one sees. Dominate the time others waste. And no, you won't see results instantly, but you will see them. And they'll be built on a foundation others simply never laid. 7. Structure and order in the morning reduce anxiety and chaos later. Chaos breeds anxiety. Uncertainty breeds stress. And if your mornings are chaotic, if you're waking up late, scrambling to get out the door, checking your phone first thing, eating junk, rushing into the day, you are literally training your nervous system to live in survival mode. You're not thriving, you're reacting. You're putting out fires instead of building something meaningful. Now picture the opposite. You wake up early. You know exactly what you're going to do. You move with purpose. You start with silence instead of noise. You've got structure, order, clarity. That doesn't just make your morning better, it changes your state. And that state follows you into meetings, into decisions, into your relationships, into your thoughts. A morning routine isn't about control for the sake of control. It's about creating predictable order in at least one part of your life so that the unpredictable parts don't break you. Life will still be chaotic, but you'll meet it differently when your day starts with calm strength instead of frantic disorder. And there's neuroscience behind this. Your brain craves rhythm. Your cortisol levels, your energy peaks, your attention, all of it flows more smoothly when your mornings are anchored. Structure literally rewires your stress response. You go from reactive and anxious to grounded and proactive. You don't rise early because you're trying to be rigid or robotic. You do it because freedom is found on the far side of discipline. When you own your morning, you don't just reduce anxiety, you create an internal foundation strong enough to handle whatever the day throws at you. 8. Morning success compounds. Productivity feeds on itself. Momentum is real. It's not just a motivational phrase, it's a psychological force. And when you start your day with intentional action, you create a momentum that compounds. That's the beauty of waking up early with a purpose. You get your first win early, and that win sets off a chain reaction. It works like this. You wake up when you said you would. That's win number 1. You hydrate, move, and clear your mind. More wins. You knock out your hardest task before most people even show up to work. That's major. And now your brain is running on the fuel of progress. You're no longer dreading the day. You're dominating it. People underestimate how much these small early wins affect the rest of their day. Productivity feeds on itself. When you start strong, you're far more likely to keep that momentum going. But when you start weak, late, scattered, unprepared, you're likely to stay that way. You can't rely on willpower alone. You need to build systems that make success easier to repeat. That's what a powerful morning routine does. It makes the right behaviors the default. It removes decision fatigue. You no longer ask, should I work out? Should I meditate? Should I plan today? You just do it. Because that's the rhythm you've set. Over weeks, months, and years, this rhythm compounds into extraordinary output. You're not just productive, you're consistent. You don't need to get motivated every morning because you've automated excellence into your routine. And that, over time, becomes unstoppable. 9, the body and mind crave rhythm. Routine brings stability. Human beings are rhythmic creatures. Your biology follows rhythms: circadian, hormonal, neural. Your body wants consistency. Your mind needs it. And when you disrupt that rhythm by sleeping in one day, staying up late another, eating randomly, living in chaos, your performance suffers, your mood dips, your clarity fades, your energy crashes. But when you wake up early and consistently, you begin to honor that rhythm. Your body begins to trust you. Your mind stops operating in fight or flight mode. You sleep better. You think clearer. You move with more energy, not because of hacks or supplements, but because you've returned to a more natural cycle of living. A routine isn't a prison. It's a framework for freedom. It gives your mind one less thing to worry about. It reduces noise, and in a world that's constantly changing, your morning routine can become a stable anchor. Something you can control, no matter how chaotic everything else becomes. That stability isn't boring. It's powerful. It lets you rise above the randomness of the modern world. It gives you the foundation you need to create, to lead, to grow. And it all begins by doing the same thing every morning, not out of laziness or superstition, but out of a deep understanding of what your body and brain truly need. 10, you cannot dominate your life if you can't dominate your mornings. This is the truth no one wants to admit. You can't master your goals, your business, your mindset, your life, if you can't even master the first hour of your day. That's where your patterns begin. That's where your real power is tested. And if you're hitting snooze, skipping structure, and stumbling into your day half asleep, then don't talk about domination. You're not in control. You're being dragged by life. Domination doesn't mean being aggressive or alpha posturing. It means taking radical responsibility. It means saying, if I can control this, I can control anything. And this is your morning, the foundation, the first battle. And if you win there, you earn the right to fight bigger battles. But if you lose your morning, day after day, you're training yourself to live in defeat. You're reinforcing the idea that you're not strong enough, not focused enough, not disciplined enough. And that belief bleeds into every area of your life. So ask yourself, who do you want to become? Because whoever that is, they don't rise at noon and wing it. They rise with intention. They prepare. They align their actions with their purpose before the world distracts them. That's how domination begins. Not with noise, but with order. Not with speed, but with precision. Not with a bang, but with a disciplined morning. Wake up. Show up. Dominate. So here it is, raw, unfiltered truth, you will never build a powerful life on a weak foundation. And the strongest foundation you will ever lay starts when the world is still dark. When no one is watching, when there's no applause, no likes, no eyes on you, just you, your alarm, and a choice to rise, a choice to lead yourself, a choice to not negotiate with weakness. Because every day you sleep in, every day you roll over, every day you choose comfort over commitment. You're voting for the person you're trying to escape, but every day you rise with purpose, every day you master your morning, every day you follow through. You're casting a vote for the person you were born to become. Discipline is not punishment. Routine is not prison. Waking up early is not suffering. It's a strategy. It's an advantage. It's self-respect in action. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the fastest. But if you want to separate yourself in a world drowning in distraction, in mediocrity, in excuse-making, then start earlier. Start stronger. Start on purpose. Because if you can own your morning, you can own your mind. If you can own your mind, you can own your actions. And if you can own your actions, you can own your life. So don't just wake up. Wake up early. Wake up on fire. Wake up and dominate. The world doesn't need more people who wait for the day to decide who they are. It needs more people who rise and decide for themselves